life is not fair and life is short. And so if life is short, you gotta try to make the best out of it. This is the time to take risks. You literally have nothing to lose. Try out as many things as possible.
Welcome back to a brand new episode on the Young Empire podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest. Welcome, Mykel. It's an honor having you on the podcast today. Mykel owns a company called Asocial, and he has a really, really good past. And looking forward to talking about your past, what you've learned, and just a few other things that you've learned along the journey. So, Mykel, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. It's been a minute since we spoke, so it's good to catch up.
Oh, absolutely. And Mykel, if you don't mind, just give us a little introduction about yourself, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah, of course. Well, 24-year-old Canadian, currently in Colombia, and I've been in e-commerce since 2015. Pretty much just starting off with a bunch of dropshipping websites. Then moved to more of a branded approach once in like 2018, 19, 20. Got 2 exits from that, from e-commerce. And now we're focusing completely on TikTok, just helping companies grow on TikTok. Massive opportunity there. And we finally found something that works. So we're just helping our clients kind of take that channel and turn it into a moneymaker, if that makes sense.
I love that. And how did you get started in your career?
Yeah, man, I was very big in sports from the age of 8 to 17. I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I wanted to go to Europe to play. And I was practicing anywhere from like 7 to 9 times a week. I was on the pitch playing. And towards the end of it, I kind of got a bit tired of it. I kind of realized that I didn't really have the skills to become professional at the level that I wanted to. Could have always went to the MLS, but that wasn't kind of a route that I wanted to take. And at that point, when I kind of made the decision in my head of I'm in my last year. I don't think I want to be doing this anymore. What's next? Like, what else am I going to do with my life? And, everybody around you, when you get to that 16, 17 is like, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to pursue? What are you going to do in school? And I didn't have an answer for it. I know I wanted to make a lot of money. I know I wanted to have some sort of level of fame. That's kind of what you get when you're playing professional sports, is you do get that, especially in that local area. So that was always interesting to me. And I know that, if it wasn't going to be sports, I know that the other vehicle that could do that for me was business. I didn't know if I wanted to work for somebody. I didn't know if I wanted to do it myself. And it's not until I started selling snacks at school. I used to get these passes to the cafeteria, and they would pretty much give me like cookies and juices and meals for free. And I would pretty much pack that in my soccer bag. And I'd go to the locker room and I'd kind of start auctioning them off in the locker room and start taking the highest bid for the juice boxes and cookies and But yeah, and that just became something normal, and I just started understanding of I really like the control that I had of going and find the product and then actually going and selling it, and understanding arbitrage and the power of that. And then from there, I just always had that itch of what can I do by myself that I could have control over my life and my revenue.
I love it. I love it. And you mentioned that you started off selling snacks in your bag, and would you claim that to be a life lesson for you, or is that what allowed you to decide that you want to get into business?
At that point in time, I didn't know I wanted to get into business. It kind of happened by accident, where I had leftover snacks, and then somebody was like, "Yeah, I'll take it," and then the other guy was like, "No, I'll take it. I'll pay you $1 for it." And I look back at the other guy. I'm like, "How much do you want for it?" And he's like, "I'll do $1.50." And then that just kept on going on. And then at that point in time, I didn't. Now that I look back at it, right, I'm able to kind of see that's what led me to kind of be more interested into business and arbitrage. But at that time, I was just still thinking about soccer. But yeah, I would say that was kind of the first thing that kind of raised my eyebrow to it, of having that control. But the real time where I really started and I said, let me just go for it, was actually, after watching like a Facebook ad of like some young dude with a BMW saying, hey, like, I sell these products and, sign up and you'll be able to have a life like this. I didn't really believe him, but I just found it interesting that somebody at that age was actually working towards something and trying to sell something. And then ever since then, that's when I really started investigating of like, what could be the vehicle for me? What are things that I can try and sell to make some money?
And you mentioned that that later led you on to begin drop shipping. And number one, how did you get involved in drop shipping? And my second question, I guess, is what led you to then pursue a career inside of drop shipping?
Yeah. So towards the end of school, I ended up having 6 months off. So we have high school, which is grades 7 to 11. Then we have CJEP that you go for 2 years, and then you have the university that you could go for 4 years. I think that's how university in Canada would be like kind of college for you guys, I think. But so I had 6 months between my CJEP and university. And in those 6 months, I went to a bunch of events. I went to a snowboarding event in Seattle. I went to a New York event. I went and go see Gary Vee. And while being there, that's where I really started to kind of meet people that were in the space. And I hadn't really started a business until then or tried any drop shipping, but after that Seattle event, that was back in 2017 or 18, that's when I was just in a room full of people that were doing it already, and they weren't honestly that much smarter than me. They just had done it and had spent more time on it. And from there, I was able to kind of shortcut a bit of the success by learning from them. Like they gave me a website to torrent courses. They told me, okay, you got to go on this website, download this course for free, and just follow what this guy has to say. Back then that was Alex Becker's dropshipping course. And I just looked at that course and I just played the student, and whatever he said to do, did it. Had barely any money. I was working in a restaurant at that point, but I had a credit card. And for some reason, the bank gave me a high credit limit. So I just went all on credit to kind of start that business.
I got you. And number one, what was your first drop shipping store that you created?
Yeah, that was a fitness brand. And took I was just selling fitness products. I was big in the gym at that time, and I was selling, I think, tights for women. And for 3 weeks, I made $0. And then the 3 weeks following that, I made over $3,000. So that was interesting.
It's funny you mentioned that, because actually the first dropshipping store that I created in my career was also a fitness brand, and I was selling resistance bands online.
Okay. Was it because of a hot product, or you were actually you were using fitness bands at home?
Honestly, both. Honestly, both. And how many dropshipping stores do you own in your career?
Look, with the failed ones, probably I would say over 50. Dropshipping was different back then. You would write a product, close it, and then go and start to find another product. Before Facebook page scores and all that, like you would find a product, I would try to write it for at least 90 days. That was a good product if I was able to write it for 90 days, and then I pretty much stop it and open up another one. While you're scaling that, when you're doing product research, so that you can have the next one come in by the time this product dies, or you kind of saturate the market, and then do that over again. So you have stores that win, you have stores that lose, but yeah, I'd say about 50. Fast fashion, which we had at that point. That was actually sort of lasted the longest, and that was, I would say, almost a year. And from there, we had a partner on that store that his wife was actually from Asia, from China, and she was able to get like fashionable type of fits at a super like ridiculous price, and in terms of cost for us. And we just sold everything like super low pricing. And that's what really worked for us. And that worked for us for a year. We started off the store spending $3,000 a day. And then we went up to $30,000 a day in ads in terms of spend.
$30,000 a day.
Yeah.
Wow. And what was your profit?
Profit on that was about 25% after everything, net margins.
So what was your yearly profit approximately?
I'd have to look back, but
Just throwing them
I would probably say like 4 million.
4 million.
Yeah.
Love it. Wow. And
Yeah.
how old were you?
That time I was 21.
So you made $4 million in profit from a drop shipping store when you're 21 years old.
Yeah, it was crazy times. It was definitely crazy times.
Did you have any business partners on this?
Yeah, 4 business partners.
Who was your business partners?
Well, the twins, Lucien and Simon. And then we had another business partner that was taking care of more of the financing and also the product.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's crazy, you know, like people like nowadays just live up to the, oh, you got to go to the traditional route. You have to go to college, get a job. And after 10 years or after 5 years, hopefully you can make 6 figures. So, I mean, what led you to believe, okay, I'm not going to go to the traditional route. Instead, I'm going to go crazy. Which is what would seem crazy to the traditional people, like, oh, I'm not going to go to college anymore. I'm just going to go there and try drop shipping.
Yeah, I think, and that usually comes when at a younger age, when you're 15, 16, 17, your parents are really pushing you that way. And I don't blame them, because your parents at the end of the day, well, at least, my parents, they wanted to protect me in terms of like making sure that like all the chips are on my table to have success. And if you look back to the point when they were 16, 30, 40 years ago, that was the route to take. That's what that's what companies were looking for. Like, what's your diploma? What's your pedigree? Where are you coming from? And if you're not going to do anything like lawyer, doctor, anything like that, where you actually need to understand, like read through textbooks because it's actually going to serve you, and you're trying to do business and especially entrepreneurship, there's no use. There's literally no use. I can go back to I did university for 4 classes and then I left. The reason why is I was running that drop shipping store at that time, and I was in class working because I didn't really care what the teacher was saying, but my parents were like on my back to go to university. My other cousin was studying to become a doctor, so it was super looked up to in the family. And so I was in class and I was there like working on Facebook ads, running Facebook ads, and the teacher was talking about how should you email your boss, right? And at that point in my mind, I was already like trying to figure out a way of dropping out of school and trying to figure out a way of telling my parents. And when she was telling me that, it just got me aggravated, like just the time that I was wasting in this class. And in university, at least in Montreal, the classes are predominantly females and they all had laptops. So I would go and look, and I was selling fashion for women, and I was looking at all their laptops. They were all shopping while in class. Okay, so in my head, I was like, okay, I think I'm ahead of the class. Like, I'm selling to all these girls that are in class trying to listen to you, So at that point in time, I remember I closed my laptop, I took my shit, I left the class, middle of the class, went to a coffee shop nearby, finished my ads, and then went back home to work some more. And I think the thing that led me to be more bullish on kicking back, sometimes what parents tell you, and really crafting a life of your own, was, if I go back to, a bit more of a traumatic event that happened to me when I was 13 years old. I was raised by a single mother. My dad left when I was 3 years old, so it was really my mom from the time I was, born to the age of 13. And at 13 years old, she passed away from stage 4 lung cancer. So that hit me hard. That was deep. I was 13 years old. Like, I don't know, like anybody that's listening that's been raised by a single parent, like, that in those early ages, that's like your foundation. That's all you know, especially that she was like super protective of me. Didn't really let me see any friends. Like, when she would go out for like supper and stuff with her friends, she would bring me with her, and I would like fall asleep on their legs while they were just having a good time, like brought me everywhere, right? So at that point in time, at 13, when that happened, I looked at myself and I asked myself 2 questions. Why me, and what now? And that kind of taught me 2 lessons early on of life is not fair and life is short. And so if life is short, you got to try to make the best out of it. And if I'm at this crossroad right now where I'm thinking to myself, do I listen to my parents and potentially be miserable and potentially hold it against them when I do get older and I am miserable? Or do I go for it, ask for forgiveness, and at the end just chase my dreams and my goals. And if it doesn't work out, at least I tried. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And my question is drop shipping what made you a millionaire? Is that like what made you like live a different life and decide to, never go back to the traditional route ever again?
Oh yeah, 100%. When I saw the amount of money that I was able to make, I said, never again am I gonna like just go to the traditional route. Never. Just because the amount of fun that I was having, and like I don't do drop shipping anymore, and like we definitely had a lot of fun with that money that we made, and I made a lot of stupid decisions. But just in the meantime of you being able to, obviously there's a lot of work that works up to it. A lot of nights where like ad accounts get shut down and you need to stay up all night relaunching all those ads, and like you're spending $30,000. So you're like doing a lot of campaigns, a lot of different ad accounts. But we just were having so much fun. We were traveling, we were working on it. We had set ourselves up a goal a year prior that we were going to be, everybody was going to quit their jobs. Everybody was going to drop out of high school, like talking about myself and Lucien and Simon, and that we were going to move to either Miami or San Francisco. And that's exactly what we did a year later, from the time that we started working together. So just things were really going our way, and all like the foundation and the systems and the structure that you build up in some of these in your business leave you to a point where you can be on a Saturday morning, especially on drop shipping, and you wake up at like, let's say at 9, and you're already at like $7,000 in sales, and you did fuck all, right? You didn't do anything besides the work that you had put in the past. So that was really the time where it really unlocked for me that like I'm no longer trading my time for money, and now I'm more trading like the value that I create in the marketplace for money. And some of that stuff could be automated, which leads you to, have a lot more time freedom.
Oh, absolutely. And what led you to not continue to do drop shipping throughout your career? Like what led you pivot in a different direction?
So when the Facebook page, the Facebook feedback score came back, got kind of applied to Facebook, which meant that anybody that bought from your website will get a survey, depending, it could be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from the time that they purchased. And with drop shipping, it was definitely longer shipping times. Sometimes it get to like 4 to 6 weeks. And so when the Facebook page score came out, that kind of hurt a lot of the ad accounts that we were working with. A lot of them would actually get shut down, and we tried to keep running the same store, and we were just going through so many headaches. And to be honest, like I wasn't super proud of the products that I was selling. I wasn't super proud of the experience that customers were getting. And it was just that, young fucking gun trying to make a lot of money. And, once you hit a certain amount of money that comes in, you kind of get numb to it, and you kind of doesn't really bring you much more. And so that's when you start really thinking about what can I create and what value can I actually give to the world. Not in a crazy sense, but just in a more like, it's not like making more than just money. And at that point, it was just getting so hard, so frustrating to deal with all these restrictions and so on. So then we just decided to like, let's try and do a branded store, try to actually bring product over to the US, over to Canada, give people that good experience of 3 to 5 day shipping with branded experience. So that's what kind of made me move away from drop shipping. So it was like, competition was starting to get more and more. People are selling more courses about drop shipping. You have more competitors that are coming into the market. Products are now higher, there's higher competition on each winning product. So it was just a point where we're just getting fed up with it, and we decided why not go more branded.
That's awesome. And obviously, like, was Asocial the first company that you started after drop shipping, or did you try something else after that?
So after dropshipping, we did a company called Cleanify. That was in the midst of 2020. And pretty much at the start of the year, we got news from some of the suppliers that we were using that there was a virus coming. And he said, I think this product would be really good for you guys. And yeah, we took that product and we scaled it from 0 to almost 800,000 our first year. And I don't know if you were in e-com that year, but that's when container prices and shipping times and shipping costs went through the roof just because of the high demand for e-commerce. So that led
Yeah.
for us to have pretty shitty margins at the end of that 800K. And that's where we were really fed up, and we didn't really see each month, each purchase order that we would make, the price would keep on increasing and the lead time would keep on increasing. Meaning, and for people that do e-commerce and especially that hold inventory, you're putting upfront capital into all those products, and that capital is stuck there until you sell it. So if you're dealing with a lot of different SKUs, it's very risky. But if you're, thank God we only had like 2-3 SKUs, but still we had to kind of wait maybe like 30 to 45 days to get our profit back from that investment. And each month it's getting higher, so the profit per product is actually getting lower. So that's when we kind of decided of like getting away from e-commerce and managing inventory and all of that. And that's when we created Hey Social in the year 2021, top of the year.
And how did you guys get the idea for Asocial?
We've been using influencers for content since I could remember. Simon, which I know you'll talk to him a bit later, but his first business was all influencer marketing driven. For that beauty store, the fast fashion store, we were only using influencers. Like they would get the product, they would send us back content, and then that's what we would run as ads. We were never big graphic design guys or like studio shoots. We were always like, let's find somebody who knows how to use a camera and let's have them create content. And that's actually what we did to launch Cleanify, was that we just took a bunch of product. We said, okay, this we're not going to look at as product cost. We're going to look at as marketing and content creation cost. So we sent out over 100 units out to different influencers. We said, hey, we'll give you a product, post us on your story and send us the raw files of that story. And then we used all those videos, chopped them up, turned them into ads, and then went to Facebook to start media buying. And that's what really led us to have some really fast growth. And at the end of the year, when we're like, okay, we want to get out of product, what could we do? And we said, okay, one of our strengths is creating this content for people. And yeah, that's what gave us the idea to start creating content, UGC style content for companies.
So for the audience that doesn't know yet, Hey Social is the company that's owned and operated by Mykel and Lucien and Simon, which we're planning to actually have on the podcast hopefully in a few weeks from now. But my question is, can you like just explain to everyone who may not know yet, but like, can you explain to everyone what Hey Social does and how you guys operate?
Yeah, so pretty much we're a TikTok growth solution. We solely focus on TikTok. We combine paid and organic to turn TikTok into a main acquisition channel. Meaning that not only do you have your Facebook ads, you have your Google ads, but now you also have your TikTok ecosystem that's also bringing in customers and profit every single month. And we do that by starting off with content creation. So we create a lot of content. We create content that's specifically for your ads. We create content specifically for organic. And yeah, we post on organic once or twice a day. And on ads, we create anywhere from 3 to 6 ads every week for our merchants so they can keep kind of scaling quickly. And the beautiful thing about, I would say, our business and the work that we do is that the content we create can live anywhere just because of how big TikTok is now and that style of content. You see Instagram Reels, you see YouTube Shorts, you see even Snapchat, the way that the experience is now, it's all vertical in terms of the way that you consume videos. So these videos could literally go on all the different marketing channels to acquire customers. But we solely focus on TikTok because that's where we see the big opportunity. And quite frankly, that's where we're the best at.
And so when you guys started Hey Social, what was like the big, I don't know how to word this, but what was like the big, what allowed you guys to notice, okay, this is it, this is what we should focus on, this is what we should put our everything into, and that this is really going to be something big and this is going to change all of our lives?
Yeah, so that wasn't until honestly mid-year last year, so 6 months into the business, when we were just creating content for Facebook ads and Instagram ads, and then we kept on getting questions of like, oh, do you guys create content for TikTok? Do you guys create content for TikTok? And we didn't at the time. And then we said, kind of looked at each other and said, hey, like our clients are asking us for this. Why not like give it a shot and try and see if we could serve them this content? And we did. Results were great. And one of our main acquisition channels is cold email. We go after some big financial tech companies, and that seems to be the best way to kind of get a hold of them. And once we started pitching TikTok, we started seeing our response rate on cold emails double, our closing rate also double, which was pretty insane. So that really led us to really see, okay, like we need to be the number one player in this space. And we need to kind of find our niche, attack it, and be the number one player. And I think that that can not only give the companies we work with a lot of value, but that can make us a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm looking at information here, and we asked you a question earlier. We said, would you consider yourself successful? And your answer was not yet. And you mentioned that you think you're 3 to 5 years away from at least yourself being considered successful. And I find this really interesting because, I mean, obviously I personally know you, and I know that you are a millionaire. I know that you, Simon Lucien, are all past that certain level that people would consider you guys successful. And at the age you're in and the way you guys are living, so I guess my question is, why don't you consider yourself successful? And where would you have to be net worth wise and lifestyle wise in order to consider yourself successful?
Yeah, so asset wise, you could say on paper I'm a millionaire. Cash wise, I'm not a millionaire. That's one of the reasons why I don't think that I'm successful yet. I look at success a couple different ways. You know, the way I kind of deem success is that you're doing what you like you actually like waking up every morning and doing, you feel energized from it, you love what you're like. You don't have to love what you're doing, but once you start doing one thing enough and you start becoming good at it, it actually feels good to do it. So I think that's the first thing that I do have, is that I really like what I do. The second thing is impacting people with the work that you do. So whether it's the businesses that are getting good results from it, either it's your team that's also getting a good working environment and actually liking and growing themselves as business people. So I would say those two things are currently in the works. The third thing is the money thing for me, because that is the scoreboard. And I think, $1 million is what $100,000 used to be, maybe 20 years ago. And you can't really survive on that. You can't give back on that. For me, when my mother passed and I kind of moved in with my aunts, they unconditionally opened their arms to me to go and live with them. So it's one of my missions not to be able to retire them and give them a life that they could only dream of. And for me, that's when I really had that type of money to be able to, take care of my family and also have generational wealth, so that, my kids always have money. Doesn't mean they're going to be entitled and spoiled, but they'll have, there's going to be money for them to kind of be able to survive and pass that on to the next generation. But yeah, so I would say, net worth wise, I would say at least 150 million. I would say is when I would say that I'm successful, because or else I still think that one, 2 or 3 bad business decisions, depending on how all your stuff is set up, you're still kind of what's it called? You're still kind of in a tough position financially, right? So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that.
150 million.
Yeah.
150 million. So to everybody hearing that right now, if let's say you work a 9 to 5, you're living, let's say, an average lifestyle, they would look at that and they'd say, hey, you're too arrogant, you just want money. And what would be your answer to people that currently think that about you?
That's fine. That's your decision. At the end of the day, we all have our own life and we get to choose to play life the way we want it. But I like the business game. And one thing that keeps score of how good you're doing is the amount of money that you're worth, right? It's a sport. I really look at it as a sport like everything else. How certain NFL players get to the best teams and win the best Super Bowls like Tom Brady would, or some European football players get to the highest leagues and win the trophies that actually matter. It's a game at the end of the day, and every day I love the game that I play. And at the end of the day, it's all about your goals and ambition, right? If you're happy with $80,000 a year, you have a month of vacation every year, you like the people that you work with, you get to have your weekends off, and those are the things that are important to you. Awesome. But I don't really mind not having my weekends for the next couple of years and the next 5 years while I'm building something, because that's where I get my enjoyment of life, building stuff, fixing problems, hiring new people, seeing the client success. When there's not client success, how can we troubleshoot that and make sure that, they're growing? That's what I like, and there's no real, like, the 150 million is not a destination where I'll wake up at 150 million and be like, oh, now I'm happy, but I just think that that's a benchmark that until I get to that point, I can't get what I want. I can't buy what I want. I can't, potentially get a jet, potentially even get a boat. Like, I can't have a bunch of houses at different places in the world and just have that freedom of being able to move to different places and still feel at home. I don't have any of that with 10 million or 5 million. So I think at that, benchmark, that's when you could pretty much, the world is your oyster and you can pretty much decide what you want to do.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. And I think a lot of people out there don't realize that it's not about the number, it's not about the money. Waking up with $1 million in your bank account versus 100,000 doesn't make you feel different. But what really, at least what I believe entrepreneurs thrive for on a daily basis, and I'm speaking for myself here, but when I was a little kid, I used to always look at Lamborghinis and I used to say, you know what, one day I want to be able to drive that to work every day. I want to be able to go get coffee in that. And then later on, now I'm looking at people with jets. And whenever I see a private jet, if I'm driving by a private jet airport, I'm like, one day I am never going to ride in a commercial airline. Yeah. I'm just going to have a jet. I'm going to get where I want when I want. And I believe for entrepreneurs like you and me, it's not about the money. It's not about the number, but nevertheless, it's about the lifestyle, what you can do for other people, the power that you have, the ability to make decisions, just basic decisions on what I'm going to do today. A lot of people wake up and they can't say, oh, I'm going to do this today. No, you got to go to work. You got to go be with your family. You have kids to take care of, other things, right? And for me, it's more about freedom. I can take a jet if I want. I can get a boat if I want. I can buy a house if I want. So, that would be my answer to anybody out there that thinks, oh, it's just about the money. Like people Googling every day, what's Elon Musk's net worth, It's not about the net worth. It's about doing what you want when you want and actually working on something that you generally enjoy and something that gives you freedom every single day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it turns into more about how can I enjoy my time or save time, right? And, a lot of these people that have jets is that, you take a commercial flight, you got to be there domestic maybe an hour and a half before, then you got to pass through TSA, and then you got to go to your gate, and then you got to wait till the plane's boarding, and then you got to go and sit down, and then everybody has to wait till it rolls out, and then it leaves. Like, you think about it, these guys getting on jets, like, you could show up maybe 15, 30 minutes before your flight is planned. You could even show up late if you want. It's your plane, right? And then you just get on there, that baby is all fueled up, you get in there, you get on the runway, and you're off. And you don't have to deal with anybody else's bullshit. So I think that that's the guys that are at the elite level, that's the game that they're playing, is just being able to have the freedom of time, of being able to choose, like, if they want to have, how they want to spend their time, if they want to, go from the airport in a nice car to a beautiful hotel at the end of the beach overlooking, the Pacific Ocean, if they want to do that, or if they want to go from, Miami to LA in 5 hours and not have to deal with TSA and just be at the comfort of their own family, with their friends. So that's the way I look at it. But at the end of the day, it's, again, all what your goals are. What are your goals?
Yeah, absolutely. And my question for you this time is, when I first met you, I would say the number eye-opening thing was the way you live your life. And the way you live your life, I would say, is not only very unique, but it's interesting and very fast. I would consider you one of my friends where you live a very, very fast lifestyle. You don't sleep that much. You work a lot. You travel a lot. You move around a lot. You're never in one location for a long time. So my question is, can you explain to everyone the type of lifestyle you live and why you guys choose to live like that, opposed to, let's say, another entrepreneur with a similar business as yours, who just decides to buy a nice house and just kind of work from the comfort of their own desk for years on or who decides to work from the comfort of their desk and just stay in one location for more than 10, 15 years?
Yeah. So I would say, especially at a young age, one of the things that moved us to start traveling is when you're 15, 16, 17, whatever the age is, and you start wanting to follow your entrepreneurial spirit and follow the entrepreneurial journey, once you start making that change mentally, start having a shift of mindset. And all your friends from high school, your friends from your neighborhood, all the friends that you grew up with, you start to have less and less things that are common. However, you still spend time with them because of, oh, you remember that time in high school? Oh, you remember that time when, we were at my aunt's pool party and, we had a good time, and you still spend time with them because of those nostalgic moments. But if you would meet that person like fresh today, not knowing anything about the past, you wouldn't actually connect with them. So that was one of the main things, is that you're really the average of the 5 people you hang around with, and just the people that we had surrounding us back in our hometown, they weren't benefiting us in terms of being an entrepreneur. So that's when I moved. That's when we decided to move in 2019. 2019, yeah, 2019. We moved a lot, too much actually. We moved. We did San Francisco 2 months. We did Vegas 2 months. We did a month in Miami. And then I went to Italy for 3 weeks. Then we stayed in Montreal for like 4 months, and then we left again to Miami the following year. And that is too much, especially if you're trying to build a business. But right now, as things stand, I'm spending most of my time in Colombia. I'd say 80% of my time during the year is going to be spent in Colombia. The other 20% is going to be in between Montreal and Miami. Lucien, on the other hand, is all about biz dev, so he's going to be spending a lot more time in Miami and going to events and meeting people and like making sure that the pipeline's full and just meeting, shaking hands and making deals happen. But yeah, so we decided to live that way because, especially during like COVID, I don't know if I'm able to even say that word, but on your podcast, I don't know where you're airing this, but it just became, especially in Montreal, it became serious where like things were like backwards, where, the liquor stores were open, the weed dispensaries were open, the convenience stores were open that just sell a bunch of junk food, but the gyms were closed and you weren't able to leave your house, right? Wow. And it was just that amount of control on your life when, I would like to live in a place where I get to choose if I want to go out and, and face this virus, or if I want to stay home. I feel like, I would like to live in an environment where I have the opportunity to choose. And that's when, that happened. We moved straight to Miami, and we left Montreal because Montreal was getting really serious in terms of lockdowns and restrictions. So we just kind of I want to live in a place where I agree with, how things are being ran and how the freedom I have over my own life and lifestyle. And that was what we found in Miami and Colombia. So we just go back and forth from there.
Run us through a day in your life, because I think that a day in your life with Lucien and Simon is relatively very rare and very unique. So run us through a day in your life and kind of just why you choose to live this way as opposed to living, let's say, a different entrepreneur lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. So I would say I live my life, my year in seasons. I usually do about 3 months of like, I'm just working. Some people would call it monk mode. And then I have 3 weeks where I'm more of like an idiot and I just party and have fun. But I still work, obviously, but the workload is a lot less. My focus levels are a lot less. Right now, I'm in that monk mode, and pretty much a typical day looks like I wake up at 4, do some push-ups, and I do my first work block right away. And I'll do that, about an hour, 15. And then 5:30 rolls around, having breakfast, maybe watching a podcast. That'll take about 20 minutes. I'll shower. And then I'll go to the office, usually be there by around 6:15. I'll do a second work block of about an hour and 15. And that'll bring us to about 7:30. From there, I'm kind of touching base with the leadership team, which is myself and Lucien, seeing what we have planned out for the day, seeing, the projects that we have rolling out, that we're making sure that we're hitting deadlines. And then from there, the team rolls in. And then I have kind of touch base with the team, see how everybody's doing, kick off the day. And then, between, I would say, 8:30 to 4 on average, I'm usually doing client calls or sales calls or team calls, initiating the next projects, the next marketing campaigns that we're doing, working on product that happens every single day. And then after 4 o'clock, usually we'll have another leadership meeting with myself, Lucien and Simon, kind of round up the day, go to the gym, and then if I have anything that I'm behind on, I'll usually do another session at night, or else I'll just kind of go to bed. I go to bed pretty early. I would say like 9 o'clock. If I'm not in bed, I start to get anxious because I need to get my sleep so I could function properly the next day. But that would be a typical day.
It's amazing. I love it. I really do. And my question for you is, let's say you could go back to when you were 15. Let's say you could go talk to yourself when you were 15 and you only had 3 minutes to talk to your 15-year-old self. What would you go back in time and tell yourself?
That's a good question. Say 3 things. I would say risk. This is the time to take risks. You literally have nothing to lose. Besides like going to jail or doing something that could threaten your life, you should definitely risk it. In terms of like, if there's somebody that you want to reach out to, that you look up to, just do whatever you can to get their attention and do it. If there's a business that you want to try out, if there's places that you want to go, I would definitely encourage to risk it because you don't have much to lose. You have a lot of time. Most of the time, if you have the luxury of your parents bailing you out, then that's always something that you can fall back on. Second thing I would say is try out as many things as possible. Really find out what do you connect with the most? What do you get drawn to the most? And that's where that'll kind of develop what you're going to be doing moving forward. And then the third thing I would say is that once you find that thing that you're most drawn to, focus. And just focus on that one thing, especially at the beginning, to build your first successful business. And that, I think, one of the mistakes that we did, like we had that big drop shipping store, but you divide between 4 people, and then there's a lot of money that's being spent, and you're not left with that much after that. And we just kept on jumping from product to product. Then we had a social media marketing agency super early, and then we went to brand an e-commerce store for like 8 months. So there wasn't a lot of compounding work and foundation being set over those 4 years. I tried a lot of different things. I honestly loved my experience, but if I could go back, I would definitely say focus on that one thing and really build it up, because that's ultimately what's going to take care of you.
I love it. And so my question is, what type of advice would you give me? Obviously being 16 years old, started my first business when I was 12, and slowly trying to finally reach that goal of being a millionaire before the age of 18. What type of advice would you sit here and give me at the moment?
Well, if that's the goal, I would work backwards from what does that look like? $1 million in your account, $1 million worth, like the company's worth $1 million.
$1 million net worth. So I operate under rules. So I don't leave more than 50,000 sitting in my bank. So just $1 million combined with my real estate investments and bank account balance.
Yeah, I would focus on getting a business that is cash flow rich, meaning that your expense, you're not cash intensive. Where, like, for example, one of them could be like e-commerce is cash intensive with the amount of money you need to put up ahead of time with product. If you're building a software with a full, dev team, that is pretty expensive every single month. So I would probably say, especially in the climate that we're in the economy, I would say something that's super like low expensive, high profit margins, and focus on growing that and getting the right people with you to grow that. And then consistently find ways to work yourself out of a job. Meaning, when you first start, you're going to be doing sales. Most important position for a founder, especially if you're starting your company. That should be one of your main focuses. But anything that has to do with, for example, recruiting, anything that has to do with managing a team, training, you should find ways to operationalize that and work yourself out of a job, meaning that you can hire somebody to take care of those responsibilities for you. And all you're really doing at the end of the day is either recruiting A players or closing deals. And then also you're building out your sales team as well. But that's the things that I would focus on is obviously find your product market fit, find, that client that saw great results and is going to give you referrals. That's when I really believe that you really have a good product. And then once you have at that point, find ways that you can get as many clients through the door. And then either get a co-founder that is good with operations or do that yourself too. I would prefer the first part of finding somebody that can actually handle the operations, because you're 16, right? So that would be in 2 years. It's not crazy. You can definitely do it. And then the money, and then don't be stupid with your money. The money that you have, find ways to break that down of what you're going to live on, and then what are you going to throw on the investment side, especially on the real estate side, because you do have, the person on your team, which is your father, who's doing really good on real estate, and that can really accelerate it because your dad's already playing at a certain level that allows him that he went already from the level that maybe you want to start at to where he's at now, so he kind of knows everything in between. Also with his connections that you can also leverage. So I would say build that business that it will generate you profits every month, and then with those profits, break that down to the penny of where's that money going, how much money is going into reinvesting or to run away for that specific business that you're running, how much money am I going to live on, and then how much money am I pushing into my investment portfolio to grow it as fast as possible.
I love it. I really do. So your advice would be to actually start a cash flow heavy business and focus on that. And where's the point where you pivot and move on to a different direction?
It really depends what your goals are, man. If you're just after making money, I'm telling you, from my experience, the bunny hopping from business to business before it actually turns into a business is probably one of the worst things that you can do. Unless you're just making deals and you're taking cuts in the middle, you're connecting people and you're a really good connector, that's fine. And you're just leveraging your Rolodex. But I would say if you're going to build a business, it'll take anywhere between 2 to 3 years for it to actually become a business where you no longer are the main active part in the business and really pushing everything. It'll take about 2 years to 2 to 3 years to get to that point where now you're pretty much just overlooking everything. You're getting mostly on calls just to make sure that every department is running smoothly. It'll take that to that point. But when you are at that point, now you have your time back, cash flow positive business, bringing money every month, and you sit in a position where at that point you can then you could look up and say, what's next?
I love it. I really do. Okay. Now, my last question is, let's say you're talking to somebody and you wish and you'd like to tell them a regret that you made in your life. What regret would you share with an upcoming entrepreneur to hope that somebody didn't make the same mistake that you did?
Interesting. Not thinking big enough.
Nothing you can think of?
No, not thinking big enough.
Nothing can be big enough.
Not thinking big enough of what you can actually be able to achieve. Because one regret, maybe expand on that, is not learning about how the mind works earlier. And the things that you tell yourself, the things that you believe about yourself are only true if you believe them. And your mind is, for me, the most important muscle that you have, because that's something that you'll use for the rest of your life, unless you're a physical athlete. But even at that, you still have to use your mind. But understanding of and there's a good book about this, Psycho-Cybernetics, an amazing book about this. Yeah, an amazing book about this, and I definitely, for you, I would highly suggest that. But that book really allows you to understand of whatever you speak, whatever you believe, whatever you think of will become true. And if you're thinking small, you're gonna play small. If you're thinking big, you end up playing big. It'll end up catching up. but you need to really be sure of yourself here, and the reality will follow, if that makes sense.
I love that. I love that. Well, it seems like we're approaching the end of the podcast. Is there anything you'd like to mention or anything you'd like to say before we end this?
Man, entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. I strongly believe that we're here to help each other out. And if you're on the verge, maybe on the beginning side, you're on the verge of like, I don't know if I should do it. You know, what are my friends gonna think about me? What am my family gonna think about me? What if I fail? Just understand that it's part of the process. You're not going for a destination. You're going for a journey of life that is a lot more interesting, a lot more fun, a lot more ups and downs at the beginning, and especially at life, but it makes it a lot more interesting. So definitely pull the trigger, give it a try, and once you fall in love with it, you'll understand what we're talking about.
I got it. Well, where can people reach you?
You can reach me on Instagram at Mike, which is Myke Anthony. That's usually where I'm most active at.
I got it. Well, Mykel, it's been an honor having you on the podcast.
Thank you, brother.
I really appreciate it, man. It's been great. I think we definitely went through some very valuable gems. And I can't wait for people to start watching this. And I really do hope that people will listen and take in the advice that you shared with us today.
Awesome. I appreciate you, Peter. We'll talk soon.
All right. Well, thank you to all the viewers. Again, if you'd like to reach Mykel, his Instagram is Mykel Anthony. It's with a Y. And if you're interested in Mykel's company, Asocial, the website is Asocial.io.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been an honor. Thank you so much, Mykel.
My pleasure. We'll talk soon, Peter. Have a good one.
Talk soon. Have a good one.
Bye.